My ex-husband, Evan, 28, and I, 28, married back in 2018 after 6 years of being together. During that time I obviously met his whole family and his grandma Erica and I became pretty good friends. Erica is a lot like my late grandma and it was easy for me to connect with her because we're both into embroidery, cooking and taking care of plants. Evan comes from an only boys family, he has 4 brothers and his father is Erica's only child. When we got married she was so happy because they finally had another girl in the family, the first one being Evan's mother who sadly passed in 2017. Evan proposed to me with Erica's engagement ring, the one Evan's grandfather proposed to Erica, and Evan's father proposed to his mother with. The ring, it's beautiful, it has Erica's birthstone, a sapphire, and isn't big at all. When his mother passed, Erica got the ring back and told Evan to give it to me when he was ready. He did in 2018, but we divorced in 2020 because Evan serial cheated on me for the past 3 years. The divorce broke Erica's heart because we used to live with her, and while I was packing my things, she approached me and told me that she wanted me to keep the ring because it was meant for a daughter, not for the spouse of her child or grandchild. She said that if Evan's mother were alive, I wouldn't have it because she loved her as much as she loves me, but things happened this way, and the ring was mine, no Evan attached. I tried to decline at first because it seemed like a family heirloom that I didn't had any right to keep, but Erica insisted and I thanked her. Even after I divorced Evan, I still have contact with her and I usually visit her pretty often. The problem is that about 2 months ago Evan sent me a message asking for the ring because he wanted to propose to her girlfriend, the one he cheated on me with, and I said that Erica gave it to me as a gift and I wouldn't do it. He got furious and started to call me names for stealing his grandmother's ring and threatened me to steal it. I said that she gave it to me, but he didn't care, he wanted it back, and after a few weeks he got into my house because I never changed the locks. Yeah, stupid of me I know, but I thought he wasn't capable of it and took the ring while I was at the gym because he knows I don't wear it there as I'm afraid to lose it. I called the police on him and they found the ring on his new fiance's finger and I didn't press charges because I only wanted it back. He's been messaging me non-stop because his fiancée is threatening him to leave him if she doesn't get the ring back because I humiliate her after the cops had to take it from her finger and that I'm his ex, I shouldn't have it, so I told him that I hoped he enjoyed being single because he's not getting my ring back. Erica is not aware of any of this because I don't want her to be in the middle of a conflict, but Evan insists that if I just give the ring back there wouldn't be a conflict at all. Not the idiot. An engagement ring is technically a conditional gift, but that condition is marriage, which happened. Divorce doesn't make it not yours. Returning an heirloom ring to the relative it came from is the nice thing to do, but it wasn't necessary. And then when that relative gave it right back, it took Evan right out of the equation. This was a gift from his grandmother to you. Tell him to stop contacting you unless it's through your lawyers, seriously. And change the locks. Not the idiot, not even close. And if his fiancée leaves him because you don't give it back, that would be karma at its finest. You want to mess around, lie, and break someone's heart, you're bound to face the consequences sooner or later. Part of me thinks that he's upset he didn't get away with cheating. If you gave that ring back, the tie between you and him would be completely severed. But you having the ring and him not being able to use it reminds him of what he's done. I love Erica, I love that she has always cared for you and continues to do so instead of simply taking his side because he's family. You should have it, Erica literally insisted, and I think it's more of a symbol of your bond with Erica than your previous marriage. You're well within your rights to keep the ring. You should definitely change your locks as soon as possible, and if I were you I'd be pressing charges and looking into a restraining order, because if he's willing to break into your house for a ring, I'd rather not consider what else he might be capable of. Also, before you block him on everything, which you absolutely should do, document the messages he sent you. Take some screenshots and back them up to a cloud storage account, or multiple, that he's never had access to. I'll just get this out of the way. My dad is technically my stepdad, but he is the only dad I have ever known. He came into my life when I was 5, and my mom and him got married a year later. My dad has 2 kids from a former marriage. They were 8 and 9 when my mom and dad met. And from what I remember they never gave my mom a chance, but weren't overly hostile until their mom decided she hated mine. My mom was always raised to believe that when you marry someone you treat their kids like their own, but you respect the biological parents and make sure the kids are always put first, not the adult feelings. So my mom tried to forge a common bond with their mom, and their mom didn't like it. This woman wished me and my mom dead. She showed up at their wedding and tried to take my dad's kids. It was crazy. Why my mom stayed I will never know, but she did. And she loved us all through that. But my dad's kids treated her like she wasn't even human. They refused to acknowledge her or they would make up weird stories about her. They didn't like me either and used to say they'd sell me to whatever bad guys were looking for little kids. My dad fought in court to get that crap to stop. He fought with his kids on being cruel and disrespectful, and he even tried to reason with his ex. Nothing worked. Their mom died a few years into my parents' marriage and they blamed my mom. My dad put them into therapy to help them cope with the loss, but they were eaten up by rage. And we found out their mom had fueled it all, being my mom's fault, because according to their mom's sister, she told them that my mom had cursed her to die. They told my mom they hoped she would die a slow and painful death. The last time they said anything to her was via Facebook a few years ago. This movie called The Lodge came out and they told her she deserved what one of the characters had done to her. My mom gave up then and my dad accepted it. But I think he hoped I would someday have a sibling relationship with him. It came up because I'm expecting my first child and he asked about trying to figure out the meeting. I told him they are not welcome in my life ever again. That they are vicious, twisted humans who are his kids and he loves them, but they have treated me and my mom worse than most people would believe possible. My dad's parents, I would call them my grandparents, but I don't think they ever really considered me part of the family, think I'm the idiot because it upset him that I would speak that way about his kids. Aita. Not the idiot. It would appear that you've had more than your fill of these vile and vicious trolls. You are not bound to them. You don't need those people in your life, bringing back bad memories, especially when you're expecting a baby. You need to take care of your health, and this includes your mental health and well-being. You don't owe them anything, no explanations or excuses, either. That chapter is now closed. They're seriously toxic and have no place in a decent family. My dad has done something similar with my sibling that has caused hatred towards my mother. He tried similar things when he had me for visitation as a toddler that, among other things he did, led to me needing therapy since age 3. It's child abuse to use children as weapons. However, once they became adults, they could have chosen to change their behavior. They didn't and continue to act in a toxic manner, which gives you every right to exclude them. It's a terrible shame that your father's children were mentally abused by their mother into thinking your mom was the villain. As an adult, you get to choose who you engage with and who you don't. Why would your dad want you to engage with his children now? Have they grown up, have remorse about their actions? Do they want to be part of your life? As far as your father's parents, what do you care what they think? Obviously, they haven't encouraged your father's children to be respectful towards you. I have 2 nieces who are less than a year apart. The older one, A, is disabled, spastic diplegia. The younger one, C, is not. I've never had a good relationship with C, but A and I are very close. If I'm being completely honest, I wouldn't call my sister and her husband the right people to raise a disabled daughter. They're constantly accusing A of milking her disability to get out of things or get sympathy. Her assistive devices are counted as gifts on holidays and birthdays instead of being treated as necessities, and they flat out refuse to give her anything that a doctor doesn't sign off on as being absolutely necessary. It feels almost like they're trying to pretend away her disability, and I know for a fact that C looks down on and bullies her sister because of it. It turns 18 next month, and after a lot of thought, I've decided to extend the offer for her to move in with me. Like I said, we've always been very close, and I just can't stand to watch her go through this any longer. Short of legally adopting her, I'd be taking full responsibility for her, and I wouldn't ask her parents for a cent. Since she'd be over the age of consent, she technically wouldn't need her parents' permission to leave, but as a courtesy, I decided to speak with my sister and explain what I was planning to offer. I didn't tell her the true reasons behind it, I just said that I live closer to the schools that A is looking into for college, and it would be more convenient for everyone involved. My sister was initially okay with this until she asked the $1 million question. And you'll offer the same thing to C on her birthday? I said no, C and I have never been close and I didn't think she'd want to move in with me. Well, even if she doesn't, you should still offer. She probably won't take you up on it. More firmly, I repeated that I was only offering this to A. And that's where everything fell apart. My sister accused me of playing favorites between my nieces, and my brother-in-law chimed in and said that I only wanted A to move in with me so I could use her disability for sympathy points. C called me later that night absolutely furious, saying that she always knew I liked her sister better. Now the whole family's involved, everyone is taking sides, and is more miserable than ever, and I'm struggling with a lot of guilt. I'm not attempting to play favorites with my nieces, I wanted to get A out of a bad situation, and this was the only way I could think to do it. But now, in hindsight, I know it must have looked like favoritism to C, especially since she likely wouldn't have said yes, even if I had offered the same to her. Should I have made the same offer to both girls just to avoid the problem, or should I stick to my guns? Not the idiot. You're not there to be a parent, and being closer with one than the other doesn't mean favoritism, it's just how relationships go. You ask your sister out of kindness, and I think that was good of you, but really once your niece is of age, it's nothing to do with any of them legally. Asking you to take on C less than a year later is not reasonable. Why should you? Perhaps you could have worded it slightly differently to say it's to help everyone out, but I don't think you did anything wrong. Maybe don't mention it again until near A's birthday and only to her. Remember why you're doing this, to take away A from a bad situation, which includes the fact that her sister is bullying her. I wouldn't want someone who bullies me to move in with me. Could you have avoided admitting to the fact that you are closer to A, which is a bit like favoritism? Probably, but I don't think that's the point anymore. What's said is said, so in my opinion you should only care whether A wants to move in with you and go on from there. Maybe do a group family post saying that there are favorites being played in the family by your sister and brother-in-law. It sounds like C is the golden child, while A is the scapegoat. That dynamic doesn't do either child any good, all it does is turn C into a spoiled, entitled brat. Also, speaking of entitlement, how entitled is your sister to basically want you to offer to take in both her kids when they turn 18? You're a good aunt and A is lucky to have you in her life. Ignore the morons in your family telling you that you need to offer it to C as well and help A as much as you can. Let those other family members offer to take in C. I'm asking this primarily because I have to live next to this guy and I don't want to be enemies for no good reason, and also because I need to know if I'm in the wrong before any legal action is taken. I am 36. I recently moved into a new house with my husband, 37, which is in a nice suburban neighborhood. Originally, there were no problem, and then trouble arose. Our neighbors on one side consist of a father and 4 kids. They seemed nice enough and quiet. I don't know how old the kids are, but there's 2 tween boys and a younger girl and boy. When it happened, my husband was at work and I was driving home. As I was driving down the street I saw one of the older boys walk into my yard, bend down, pick up a ball, and go back to his house. I was angry because I was raised with the idea of never trespassing into someone's yard like that without permission. I confronted the boy and he said he was sorry, but you could tell he really didn't mean it. So I went and talked to his father, and I didn't get anywhere there. He didn't seem to take me seriously at all, and he told me that I was overreacting. I felt like he was invalidating my feelings, and I snapped and told him that he better not let his kids trespass in my yard again, otherwise I would call the police, and he called me an idiot, so he escalated into name-calling first and shut the door in my face. I'm pissed off. My husband hasn't said much, but he's promised to install security cameras. I want to know your options based on the reasons above. You're the idiot, a kid's ball ended up in your yard. Judging by the post, not fenced in or gated. Is he supposed to wait potentially hours for you to get home so he can retrieve his ball? No, he goes and grabs it and walks back to his house with literally no harm done. The dad called you an idiot because you were being one. I don't want to be enemies for no good reason. Too late. You destroyed any chance of a positive or even neutral relationship with this neighbor. Also, if he talks to the other neighbors, since you are new to this neighborhood, it's going to be very difficult making friends with anyone in the neighborhood. I'd suggest making a buttload of cookies or something and taking it next door, offer a sincere apology, beg for forgiveness, and a chance to start fresh. That is a ridiculous overreaction. A ball got misthrown, no one was home, so he retrieved it and left without disrupting anything of yours. You, meanwhile, shouted at a child, shouted at his parent after he had already apologized, threatened to call the police, and now you're yelling on the internet because a grown man removed himself from an escalating situation. You're the idiot. My cousin and I were like sisters, we did everything together from toddler to teens. When she was 16 she went down a dark path and started using medicine and started doing inappropriate things. She then started getting jealous of me because I was getting the attention she didn't have, and when she got jealous she would then copy me the exact same way. I then started getting worried about her and I told her mum about what she was doing. My cousin then got really angry at me and blocked me and told the whole family that I ruined her life. My family then got angry and told me that I wasn't up to the standards of keeping her safe. A few months after this all happened she invited herself to my party. After I told her that she was not invited, she then stole the whole show and started acting like it was her birthday. She then started getting jealous because I was getting all the attention and she sat by herself crying. 2 weeks after my birthday she then had her birthday and she didn't invite me, her mum then invited me, and of course my parents forced me to go. When I arrived she cut and dyed her hair the exact same way mine is and wore the exact same outfit that I wore on my birthday. When she saw me she then kicked me out the back and I had to sit by myself for 3 hours outside while they were celebrating. I then asked my dad if I could go home and he said no. A year after this incident I told my family that I wouldn't want nothing to do with her and that she has put a negative impact on my life. My family now is angry at me for saying this. Am I the idiot for saying this to my family? Not the idiot. I'm so sorry you had to deal with such a stressful person. You didn't do anything wrong by telling the family about her issues. They had a right to know if their daughter was going down a bad path. Just remember you don't owe that cousin anything and you shouldn't put up with their crap. You are not responsible for your cousin and her actions. Her parents failed her and are trying to pin the blame on you. You are not her parent, turn away and ignore them. Not the idiot. Your cousin is crazy and you have every right to not want someone like that in your life. There's a fine line between appreciation of someone's life and obsession. She's crossed into obsession. Maybe your cousin's mother and your family should focus on helping your cousin and give her emotional support and attention instead of pushing it on you. She is not going well and you can't help her. Not the idiot, you established a boundary with someone who is unstable, self-destructive, and selfish. She is on a self-destructive path. You are not the idiot for not wanting to board that crazy train. I hope that your family understands soon that you don't want to share her negativity and bizarre behavior. Good for you, your family is wrong.